This is Mitch, and welcome to the 1000houses.com podcast. I'm here with Scott Meyers, and he's been around for a long time helping people understand and take advantage of the cash flow that can be had from self-storage business or the storage business. I am a big fan of the storage business. It's really what I know retires me at the end of the day. I don't have to do anything if I don't want to because I have, over 1,000 units myself. Just paid them off, Scott. Have no debt.
Congratulations. That is a great place to be.
When 1,000 people owe you about $125 a month average, and you don't have any debt, it's a good place to be, man. It's a good place to be. It took me way too long, though, and I should be further along. I should have 2,000 or 3,000 units, but I just did it all by the seat of my pants and kind of on my own. And as I would clear time for it, because my main thing was I was buying and selling a lot of houses, and I never really paid attention to the storage business until I looked up one day and said, at my tax return, and said, holy crap, what's this line go to? And they said, it's your storage business. And I said, well, there you go. So tell us, you're in Indianapolis, right?
That is correct.
All right, give us a little background, Scott, and then let's talk about the storage business.
Let's do that. Yeah. So the story begins in real estate with single family houses as well. I think that's how most people get into real estate to begin with. And using the old Carlton Sheets method and his home study system back in 1993, bought my first single family house, rehabbed it, refinanced it, rented it out. And we took the proceeds from the refinance and went and bought two more. And then it just continued on after that until we had about 80 houses and decided that, I don't have the cash flow and the free time like Carlton Sheets talked about. And so I got to be doing this thing a little bit differently. And so let's double down and go into apartments, and figured economies of scale would fix that. So we started buying apartments and had about 400 apartment units and a few small complexes around central Indiana, and realized that wasn't working for us either. Even if we had property managers and property management companies, we still, at the end of the day, it's a labor intensive business when you're in the tenant toilet business, and the buck still stops with you, and we still have to write the checks, and the bigger problems usually still land on my desk. And so we decided that, if I love real estate for all the reasons you just mentioned, especially come tax time. I mean, we can depreciate these things, they appreciate, we can force appreciation in real estate, and we can borrow money to buy them. And then we put renters in our units, whether they're apartments or houses or self-storage, to pay down our basis. There's no better investment on the planet, bar none, period, if it weren't for the tenants and toilets and trash and the houses that go along with them. And so when I looked around the landscape, that left the real estate landscape, that left parking lots and self-storage. And so there's not a lot of value that you can create in parking lots, although they're a good business for some folks. But what really got me intrigued was self-storage, because you can do all those same types of things and force depreciation and value and improve them and increase rents. But you don't have all the hassles and the challenges and the time that goes along with managing people. And so that's when I began looking into the business. And there wasn't a whole lot of resources at the time. There was the trade shows and associations that you could go to, and the magazines. But that was a lot of training for existing owners and folks that are already in the business and managers. And so I went to the trade shows, learned as much as I could from mostly the attendees, just asking the questions and, making buddies with the guy sitting next to me or the gal sitting across from me at the round tables, and just asking them about the business, and got into the business, did very well. And then as I ran my real estate investor association here in Indianapolis, people started asking, how I was doing this. And so we started holding workshops and teaching people how to get into the self-storage business. And my second business in self-storage was born, and that was teaching people and educating people on how to find, evaluate, purchase, and manage self-storage facilities. And so, through the years, we continue to invest heavily in self-storage, and our education business took off because we were the only game in town, people, really revealing the secrets on it. And before I knew it, Mitch, and this is about the time you and I met, I had two 60-hour-a-week businesses, and decided that was unsustainable. So we started to combine the two and peel back my hours in both, but then really merge them with, working with folks that were wanting to get into the business, but then also having an opportunity to partner with them to raise capital and syndicate and do joint ventures. And that's where we found ourselves now. And so now that we we're doing this less time in both businesses, doing better deals with better educated investors and joint venture partners, our business has just exploded. So we're up over 2.6 million square feet now, and we're approaching 15,000 doors nationwide. And COVID 2020 and 2021 have been our best years, and they were the best years in the industry and storage. And 2022 is off to a bang. And so we're absolutely looking forward to what the balance of this year is going to hold for us.
Okay, so there's a lot to talk about in this business. I started out, maybe, I don't know if you're a proponent of the way I started out or you'd rather do it a different way. Let's talk about that. I mean, I started out at Canyon Lake, Texas, and found that I could actually buy these mom and pops that they weren't so expensive. I mean, granted, my first unit was 15 little boat stalls in front of Comel Park, the entrance to this park where people would grab their fishing boat and go fishing. And so I would store 15 fishing boats, and I paid $8,000 for it. And they were I got the rents up to $45 or $50 a month a piece. And it only took like 14 months to pay back my credit card because I didn't have any damn money. So I just bought them with my credit card, $8,000. And then I took the money and sent it all to my credit card till it was paid off. It took about a year and a half. And then I owned it free and clear. And then I know it. I started thinking, wow, this is a lot different than rent houses. You know, these happen to have a dirt floor and chicken wire dividers and rusted corrugated aluminum panels. But the money was just as green as any money I ever collected. And I noticed one thing. These people might lose their houses, but they'll be dead before they give up a boat.
Yep. You got it.
They'll be dead before they give up their boat. So then I just started buying the little mom and pops, 25 units here, 35 units, whenever I could. And fortunately, the mom and pops would sell or finance me the property if they'd ever sit down and talk to me at all. And I ended up buying 18 little facilities around the lake and started to have, although I didn't have a lot of units, I started to have a big reach. Like people would call me for one place and I go, well, I'm full there, but you don't really, where are you coming from? They said, well, I'm coming from this place. I'd say, well, you don't really want to be here anyways. You want to be over by your house, don't you? And I don't know, then functional obsolescence started setting in, right? The boats weren't little John boats anymore. They were, had speakers and racks and all this stuff. And I had to tear down some and rebuild some, but I didn't have any money in this land. So that's how I got in it. But how do you suggest people start in the business?
Well, certainly there's no judgment here, Mitch. You've done extremely well and it worked out for you. So no matter how you get into it, certainly many of the folks that come to us, they don't know what they don't know. And so, yeah, they get themselves educated first to avoid, any mistakes. I mean, in commercial real estate, if you make a mistake in underwriting by $1,000, it's really, about $10,000 in value you may have left on the table. Or if you don't know how to create value, then you may be leaving 10,000, 100,000 in value just because of what you don't know. And so, we always suggest that people, understand the asset class and the nuances of it, how to make money, how to not lose money, and how to reduce your expenses and how to increase income. But not to the point where, you have to know everything and be an expert before you begin the business. I mean, you have to have a basic understanding, get some good folks alongside of you, have good mentors, good consultants, and, even the lenders along the way, they assist to a point, but surround yourself with a good team to make sure that you have dotted your I's and crossed your T's before you get into it. But ultimately, there's just no, substitute for good education. And as you and I both know, and teaching people over the years, there's several folks that you're going to get educated one way or another. And many folks have heard this, either you get educated on the front end or the market's going to educate you. And many times that's much more expensive than, paying for the consultants, paying for the mentors, and, just making sure that you go to the events, go to the, trade shows and learn about the business before you just get into it, and assuming that, because self-storage is the best asset class and it's been the most profitable, that, you have this big wind in your back in the sale that you put up, that it's always going to be great, because it is until it isn't. And then when it isn't, that is not the place where you want to be. So
you can screw up anything. You can screw up anything.
Because it's all business, and people treat many businesses like a hobby, and there's no business that's a set it and forget it. You have to walk the four corners of your business, and you have to also shine light in the dark corners to understand what's going on. And so, yeah, you have to mind the store.
Yeah. So choosing partners, I mean, no matter really the storage business or any business, let's talk about that for a second, because who you decide to team up with is ultimately going to be the death of you or the victory, because the business can only be as good as the partner that you pick. And so how do you, I mean, I know how I vet partners, and we could talk about it, but how do you suggest choosing a partner in this business?
Well, I've seen the way that some folks have done it, and it hasn't worked for them. And that is that two broke people with bad credit get together, and because they have a love for real estate and decide to go into business together, and neither one of them benefits the partnership, and they either never get off the ground, or neither one of them has a strong suit, and the business fails, and if they happen to get into it to begin with. So the best partnerships, at least for us, is also, Mitch, the same in the way that we hire staff. And that is that, we have our core values and our mission statement pretty well dialed in, and we live by it. It's not just some plaque that we put on, or just something that we revisit once a year in our staff meeting. We go over it on a regular basis. My staff members can recite it. And if you don't share our core values, and if you can't buy into the mission statement, then you're not going to work for us, and you're not going to work with us. And certainly, I'm not going to get into a partnership with somebody who's not living that out. And so we need to understand that there's a certain level of integrity. Most people know me and my faith, and I wear it on my sleeve, and I'm not ashamed to share, and also not share with a potential partner to say, hey, this is how we're going to operate, and this is what I believe in. And you don't have to believe the same thing, but if I see that you're going out and doing the opposite of what we believe in, which is, not living by a code, and that code is pointed north, then, we're probably not going to do business together. So I think you need to really get to know the person that you're going to be partners with, because it is, as everybody says it, and it is true. It's not a cliche. It's like a marriage, and it certainly is as ugly as a divorce if a partnership goes bad, if not worse, because there's more dollars at play usually, and a lot more at risk, essentially. So that it starts there. But then really, when it gets down to the brass tacks, it's who brings what to the partnership. And if your partner doesn't bring a strong suit, or has something mastered that is completely your blind spot, or a deficiency in your business, or in your in your business to begin with, then do they really help you? And are you really helping each other? Or are you just two people that are trying to go at the same speed, but you're going to be stuck because you still have a deficiency in some area of the business? So if you're bringing in somebody who's got a strong balance sheet because you don't, even though you've got the cash, but they don't have the cash, and they bring the balance sheet, and they've got development experience where you've got the operations experience, when you begin to put the pieces together, as the movie says, you complete me. The partners should complete the business and complement each other. So that's, I think, to paint a broad brush stroke, be aligned morally, ethically, and making sure that it is somebody that shares your core values, and then they bring something to the partnership that you don't already have. Yeah,
I think that's a whole mouthful right there. I mean, in some cases, in some businesses, like the house flipping business, you can partner with a person one house at a time, and when it's no fun, or you figure out that this isn't working, you can stop and you just don't do any more houses together. And those deals are, you're in and you're out, and you're in and you're out, and you decide not to get back in again when you see that you have differences. And but in some bigger deals, you don't have that luxury, right? You're either going in or you're not, and so you really need to do your due diligence. And today it's not that hard to find out a lot about people. Really.
No.
I'm always interested in how litigious they are. I'm always interested in criminal history and credit. Not because people that have bad credit are bad people, but I just need to make sure that whatever the debacle was, or that it's over. You know what I mean? The debacle is over.
And how do they handle themselves through it as well? Because when things go bad, that's where you find out that folks' true character. And so we'll dive into that. And I've got a couple of partners that have gone through bankruptcy, and heck, you've been at this business for 3 recessions, then chances are you probably come close to it, or had a bankruptcy even in an LLC. But I want to know how they handle that. Talk me through it, and if I can sense from their story that they handled it with integrity, and hey, I put all my money in to try to save the thing as much as I can. Or if they just said, the minute things were going south, I wiped my hands and all my investors lost their money, but I wasn't going to lose any of my retirement or savings to try to save it. I walked away. Well, there's a difference in how you handle those. And if you can discern, that this is somebody that's going to go to bat for the deal, then that's somebody that you want to make sure that, you keep close. And the others, if they're just walking away from their problems, then that's somebody you probably don't want to do business with.
Yeah. I have I guess on the first, I'll pay payments on $26 million to private lenders on a bunch of houses that I sold on wrap mortgages. I'll be dead before they don't get their money, because if I can come back if I keep my reputation. If I lose my reputation,
Correct.
I can't. It's going to be hell to come back. You know what I mean?
This is the long game, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah, it's the long game. I mean, I'd rather lose my money than lose someone else's money, because you know what I mean? I don't want to lose
100%.
anybody else's money.
100%.
How do you suggest getting in? Say, like, I don't have any storages. You know, I've had a reason. Let's just say I've had a reasonable amount of success. I have a decent amount of money in the account, but I'm not wealthy by any means. How do you suggest I start in the storage business?
Yeah. So a couple of ways. And one of the ways that many of our folks that come through our doors have kind of surprised me as to how they approach and look at getting into the business. And that, we've been teaching people for, we were investing maybe 3 or 4 years before we started holding these little workshops at our Central Indiana Real Estate Investor Association that I was the president of. And, going through the steps and making sure that everybody's covered. And again, the gotchas, they don't know what they don't know. We've been teaching people how to make sure they cover their bases. It's real estate is math, and it's all in the numbers, and most of this is a math equation. So you got to get really good at underwriting and understanding the numbers. And in storage, as you know, Mitch, it's equally, if not more important, to look at the market. And you need to understand how to read and do an analysis on the market as well, because just because you find a facility that's struggling and it's at 50% occupancy, it doesn't mean you can take it up at 90 to 90%. If you look around and the other 6 facilities that are within 3 miles, they're all at 50%. Well, guess what? That's a market problem. And it doesn't matter how hard you work, you're not going to be able to solve that. So you've got to understand the numbers, and you got to understand the markets as well. So there has to be a base level of understanding of the business itself. Keeping your credit clean, doing the things that you just mentioned, and creating relationships with bankers, and then beginning to assemble a team as well as some capital, so that when you either find a deal or a deal finds you, that you have the ability to pull the trigger, because it is more intricate. There's more pieces to it. And if you don't have at least a base level of team members in place and the folks that are needed to get a deal across the finish line, you'll fall out of contract before that happens. But even before that, it's helpful to find not only a mentor, but a partner. And you can partner with somebody who's experienced, that you can bring into the deal or cut them in on a small part, that they can, you can utilize a portion of their team and their expertise and their Rolodex, to get this deal across the finish line, so that you can do the next one all on your own. Also, a different variation of that is, we've had folks that have come through our self-storage academies to learn about the business. But then come to find out, they didn't want to learn about it to do it actively, or maybe they thought that was the case when they came in, and then they realized, there's a lot of moving parts to this, and there's a little more risk in carrying that much more debt. And if I buy an existing facility that is, at 10% occupancy, or a development opportunity, that, the lease up risk is something that I may not want to take on as well. So development risk, lease up risk, and then, signing on the note for all that. I think I'd rather be a passive investor and let Scott or let Mitch, take on the debt and do all the lifting, and I'll be an equity partner and come in as a limited partner. And I just get all the benefits of that, and a K1 for depreciation at the end. And then maybe if I want to go do my own someday, I have that baseline knowledge. I'm in it. I've got the experience. And so now I'm recognized by bankers and some private equity partners that I want to bring in as being somebody who has experience in the storage business. So, in the beginning, it's learning. Don't bite off more you can chew. Find a mentor, find a partner in the beginning, or be a limited partner, a passive investor, are some of the great ways to go along for the ride and earn while you learn before it comes time to go do one 100% on your own. Does that make sense?
Yes. And one of the key things I was looking at in some of the notes for this podcast was, and it's the same in every business, the upfront due diligence is do or die. I mean, if you get that wrong from the beginning, you really have hurt yourself. You may not even be able to recover, depending on how wrong you get it. Then, sometimes when you have big enough margins, or you're in a place where the market's just that good, or you bought the land that much undervalued, you have some cushion. I just built a $2.8 million place. It's 283 units. Okay. Brand new out of the ground. It kicked my ass. I'm telling you, it kicked. I chose to be the general along with my partner. And that was the worst mistake I ever made. And I subbed everything out individually to the locals around here. When looking back, I should have hired a company that specializes in building mini storages and paid the general contractor. whatever they, what they asked, within reason. And I would have been so much better off. But there you go. You don't know what you don't know. And then I got in there and figured out I was really bad at a whole lot of shit. You know what I mean?
and I bet you're probably would have been better off monetarily too. I mean, I think, and I'm not pointing out your faults, but I think it's the toughest lesson for all of us to think that, why would I pay somebody else to do it when I can do it faster and cheaper? And then you come to the end of the project and you think, man, this GC who's his margin is 5-10% or whatever that is, he would have got it done 6 months earlier than I would have. And I would have made more money above what I lost because it took me 6 months longer to do this than it would have been if I'd hired the right guy.
Mine was 6 months longer. It was longer than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I came to all the same conclusions you're saying. And, if you want to see the place I built, you can go to bigunitselfstorage.com. And I got a drone flies over, bigunitselfstorage.com. And, it took me way too long to get this thing out of the ground. Now, of course, I got hit with massive rains that don't happen in this area. I mean, consecutive rains. And I got hit with COVID. And the DPS got hacked in the process. And they held up my driveway permit for 8 months. So I didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that the DPS had gotten hacked because they weren't telling anybody. But come to find out, the reason why I couldn't get the permit was they were just jacked up in a technical computer kind of way. So but the good news is it opened. It
worked.
It's full. It works. I have a lot more money in it myself than I thought I was going to have, but it's making $35,000 a month net. So I mean, it's going to make it all back sooner or later, no matter how much I went over. At that pace. So.
And I want to make sure that everybody hears this, however, Mitch, and that's pointing back to what you just said. That wouldn't have happened if you didn't do your due diligence ahead of time and you built enough margin and cushion. It wasn't like you were just throwing darts out there and saying, well, this is going to be really close. And if I get a delay by 8 months, we're sunk. You built all kinds of contingencies into this thing and you ran the numbers several times that, where you understood that, hey, if I have more money, my own money into this and it takes longer, I'm still going to make money. So I want to make sure that everybody understands that as well, is that, this isn't a fly by the seat of your pants and build it and hope they will come. It doesn't work that way.
I stole the land. I stole it. It was going to be really hard to mess up. The unknowns around here and probably everywhere, but it's really unknown. The site plan wasn't level, and the site work is always to me seems like to be the biggest unknown because they don't know when they're going to hit rock.
Correct. Yeah.
The sooner they hit rock, the faster the price for that site work's going up. And there's just no way to know. There's no way to know what they're going to hit when they're chopping it down to grade. So we didn't have any luck in that department. I mean, it couldn't have turned out worse. You're looking at it, you don't know. And then the other thing was I had a good partner, and it was time to ante up an extra $100,000 a piece. He could come and I could come, and I knew that before I went in business with him. He wasn't broke. He was pretty solvent, and I was pretty solvent, and I was sure that if there was a problem, we would both be able to write an equal check and go in instead of me having, if I would have teamed up with someone who was broke, I would have had to write the whole $200,000 and try to figure out percentages or get adjustments in the agreement, which may or may not have happened depending on who you're dealing with, So I always like to know how long my partner's legs are, because some people put on some really good facades. They drive some nice cars. They have some really nice watches, and they couldn't write a check for jack. You know what I mean? And then so when you hit a bump in the road, it's time for everybody to ante up $25,000 or $50,000 each because we went over budget. They can't do it. And that's a problem.
Well, that again, matching up a partner, with the project, and then they bring something that you don't already possess are the best types of partners to bring into any project. So, talk about your breakthrough moment in the storage. I mean, did you have that one aha moment where the clouds parted and the sun came out and you said, "Okay, this is my horse. I'm riding it all the way to the end"? Man, oh man. Well, you know what? The first project that we had, Mitch, was it kind of coming full circle to everything we just been talking about. It was when I first got into storage, I've been in commercial real estate, been in a multifamily, but the banks, they still didn't want to take, what they considered a risk on me buying my first self-storage facility because I didn't have any experience in it. That's just what banks do. That's how they view it. So I got a partner and we went in 50-50 on this project. He was well-heeled, strong balance sheet, had a lot of cash. And so we bought a self-storage facility from a partnership where these two gentlemen were in the concrete business together, and they decided to part ways. They were splitting up their partnership in their concrete business, and they had built the self-storage facility, and so they were splitting that up as well. And they were going through a nasty partnership divorce, to the point where it was so nasty that they were basically driving the value of the self-storage facility into the ground because both wanted to screw the other partner out of making money. And so the best way to do that is to drive the value of the business into the ground and then sell it for a song so that neither one made money. So we stepped into a facility that was worth 1.7 million, conservative appraisal, and we bought it for $900,000. So we stepped into about $800,000 in equity, and therefore $10,000 net cash flow a month right out of the gate. We had it was full within a matter of 2 months. We put a kiosk in it and reduced the payroll expense. So now we had almost doubled the cash flow at that point again, because we filled it up, raised rents, and reduced our payroll. And then it was in an expanding area, and we bought the vacant land next door. Almost stole it, not quite the same as your scenario, but it had a building on it. We converted to climate control, and then built out almost double the amount of square footage on the entire building, or on the entire site. And so that project worked out very well. So that was really the shining moment when I got into it and started realizing that from the operations side, whereas in habitational real estate, if somebody doesn't pay you, well, you send them notices, you take them to small claims court, 90 days later, you walk out of small claims court, and maybe they've left, they've destroyed the place in the meantime because they're mad at you for kicking them out for not paying. And the court, says, all right, we'll go collect from them. We'll get them out now. And they've got a certain amount of weeks to get their stuff and get out. In storage, and somebody doesn't pay you, as 6 days later, you put a lock on their unit, they can't get at their stuff. And after 90 days, if they don't pay you, you get to sell their stuff off and hopefully recoup your money back, or at least we get darn close to what was owed to us in back rent and late payments. So lien laws in self-storage protect the owner, the landlord, if you will, whereas habitational laws in apartments and houses protect the tenant. And when we began to do the math on that and looking at the amount of money that we were able to recoup just because of the difference in the industry and the way the laws are written, that was the shining moment where we went full bore into self-storage. And then probably the second piece to that then was, Mitch, is looking at the ability, because the asset class is so strong for so many reasons that we just mentioned, it was real easy to attract joint venture partners and private equity partners. So to get to the level that we are now, we're in an asset class that everybody loves. It has the lowest loan default rate, has the lowest loan loss rate. It outperforms the other real estate asset classes from, the REITs at the top level. If you look on the internet, self-storage is always at the top, to the industry as a whole. It's just, it's more profitable than the other real estate asset classes. And I'm not being biased because I'm in it. It's just, those are the facts. And so that makes, go ahead.
How do you answer that? Because people say it to me too, and I'm building and say, how do you, is the storage business any good anymore? They're everywhere. It's like they're overbuilt. And my answer to it is, well, they're overbuilt in some places. I mean, if you want to go to Austin, Texas, yeah, you pay a demographics guy to come give you a report to avoid that problem. It's $5,000 or $6,000 or maybe $3,000 to $6,000, but they'll tell you, but there's always a push further out, no matter what city, no matter what group, and you get out on that leading edge, and find some place that no one's paid attention to, or that they have, but not enough people have paid attention to, and you take part of it.
This is not an easy business, folks, but it is a simple, predictable business model. And you're right, Mitch. I mean, we pay $6,000 for these feasibility studies, and the consultants do the research, and we come behind their numbers. We've got enough experience now as well, and we know that if we put a facility here, we look at the supply index, and 3 to 5 miles out, we can predict with a fair amount of accuracy, how quick this thing's going to lease up, what the valuation is going to be, how long it's going to take. And, we can plot it out, and I'll be darned if it happens, if not sooner than what the projections show from our consultants. Long gone are the days. And what bank is going to approve, some Yahoo that comes in calling himself a developer that says, I'm going to build 100,000 square foot of self-storage because I heard the business is easy, and I'm going to put it right over here will you give me the money? Well, banks aren't going to do that. The city is not going to allow it, and nobody else is going to give you money unless you've shown and proven that that is the case. And if you have to be dumb enough to do it and use your own money, well, you might be successful. Chances are you won't, or else somebody who knows the business would have plopped one down there a long time ago. So we've got some built-in guardrails into the industry itself to, not necessarily avoid all that from happening, but as one of my bankers told me, Mitch, and you'll appreciate this. He said, yeah, well, after we closed on my one of my first deals, actually it was like the 5th or 6th, he said, well, keep bringing them to us because, you know what, we love these things. The bank loves having them on their balance sheet, and you got to be a brain dead moron to screw one of these things up. And I said, well, either that's a compliment or you have a lot of faith in us, one of the two. But either way, yeah, that's what we'll do. And truly, if you do all the right things from due diligence and market studies and development and just, minding the store and learn about the business, it is not that difficult. It's not easy, but it's not that difficult to not do it right.
Well, it's just like anything else. If it was easy, everyone would do it, and then it wouldn't be worth anything. It's got its challenges, which is why it's such a lucrative business if you get it right. But it's like anything else. If you're going to learn how to play Parcheesi, you got to learn the rules and you got to win. People ask me all the time, do I get an LLC or a corporation? It says it really doesn't matter. Pick one, learn the rules and win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, so, in corporations are better for holding some things and LLCs are better for holding other things. But still, my point was just learn the rules and win,
Yep.
And it really helps if you get someone in your corner. So you've got a book that says 14 steps. It's kind of long, Scott. Let me see here.
7 steps that
7 steps to avoiding mistakes new self-storage investors make. So
got it.
I want you to go to 1000houses.com/own storage, singular. And go get your free guide, 7 steps to avoiding the mistakes new self-storage investors make. And over there, you'll be in the show notes, and you'll have access and privy to all the different levels of education that Scott offers. I don't know, you got some boot camps, or what do you got coming up? What's next on your radar here with education?
Yeah, our 3-day self-storage academies are just absolutely selling out. They're filling up and just going like gangbusters. All eyeballs are on self-storage right now, especially during this inflationary period. Folks are exiting the stock market. They got money to spend and actively invest or passively invest in self-storage. And so yeah, we've been the place for the past 15 years. We are the nation's go-to company for teaching people how to invest both actively and passively in self-storage. So all the information's in the show notes there at 1000 Houses. And so, sign up for our next academy. We'd love to teach you about the ins and outs of the business as well. It's for my team. It's not a pitch fest. There's nobody that comes into these events except for my team. And for 3 days, we show you how to find, evaluate, purchase, and manage self-storage facilities. That's it.
Okay, so again, your free guide, 7 steps to avoiding the mistakes new self-storage investors make. Go to 1000houses.com/own storage. And before we go, I really liked the last one of the takeaways you said you wanted people to take away. And I think this is important for every business. If you don't have this attitude, maybe you should think strongly about circling back around and picking this attitude up. But it says, be purposeful and give back. Design a rhythm of giving in your business. Will you explain this to us, please?
Yeah, this has really been at the heart of everything that we've ever done, Mitch. And that, we got into real estate because I think like many people, we're entrepreneurs. We want to be able to at least have our own schedule and dictate what that looks like and then have time to do the things that we want to do. For my wife and I, we wanted to raise our kids and we wanted to go out and travel with them. And we didn't want the schools to ding them because we were taking them to Washington, D.C. when they wouldn't. So we've homeschooled, and self-storage has provided us the freedom and the cash flow to be able to take our kids all over the world and to be able to do school at the same time. And also with that, as we're traveling around the world, we're a very missions-based company. So we went on a house building mission trip back in 2013, and it actually absolutely just broke our heart for that mission. And so we came alongside of the folks that were doing it, and then we signed up with YWAM, Youth with a Mission, and now we pay for and fund these short-term, family-friendly 4-day mission trips down to Ensenada, Mexico. We go twice a year. We build 2 or 3 houses, and we pay for everything for folks to come. All they have to do is get to California, and then we load you up on a charter bus, and we pay your way down there. We pay for the house, we pay for your hotel, your lodging, your food, and also homemade tacos as well as churros, and give these folks an incredible 4-day short-term family-friendly mission trip that they may not have anywhere else. And the benefit is that, obviously, ending generational poverty, one family and one house at a time. But for us, Mitch, as you know, we have the blessing of leverage, and the folks that are listening to us, and that, if we can get more people to buy into what we're subscribing to, and we'll pay for it, they'll come back and they'll be fired up and they'll decide to go do something good in their family, within their neighborhood, their community, their church. Or some folks have come alongside of us, and now we're building, 2 to 3 houses every time we go, and we're building 4 to 6 houses a year, from other folks that are coming alongside and either funding or building houses and bringing their own teams and their own staff. And so that has been at the heart of what we've done. And we feel that there's no way that we can ever outgive God. And so as we continue to have an open hand, guess what? The money flows right through it, and allows us to be able to go out and do some good in the world, and show some other people, and open their eyes to what it feels like to go out and do some good in the world as well.
Yeah, it's a very emotionally rewarding act to give of your labor, and to give of your money, to give of your heart. So
it is.
If you're not experiencing that, you got to learn to take care of yourself first. So to take care of yourself, you got to get that handled. Because you can't really help too many people if you can't even support yourself.
That's correct.
Get that handled, and then along the way, look back when you see how far you've gone, and reach back and help a few other people up the ladder. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100% agreed.
That's the only reason I'm in coaching. Really, I don't need any more money. If I don't ask for money, then I don't get what I want, which is someone driven enough to improve. You know what I mean? So it's a tricky thing. But at 61, I'm looking for the emotional reward of changing someone's life for the better, and helping them get up off the ground and be able to soar. And I'm not a millhouse. I don't take a lot of people. Maybe I take 10 people last year. Of course, it was a different year, but I take 10 people one-on-one. But I only take the people I know that I can have a run at the Super Bowl with. You know what I mean? I don't want to sign up for a losing team. I do a lot of interview. If I say I want to coach you, it's because I think we got what it takes to get way down into the playoffs or into the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? I don't want to play on a losing team.
Yeah,
the money.
It's not worth it.
I don't want to play on the losing team for the money. It's not about the money. Yeah. So, all right, my friend, it's been a good conversation. Anything you want to say to those people out there that have storages in their eyes and in their dreams before we hang up here?
Well, we've been at this for 15 years, 17 years investing, and roughly 15 years teaching people how to do it. And through all that and through the recessions, there's no better time than to start now. I think, the number one cause or excuse for people not being successful in anything, let alone self-storage, is because, they're just fear of the unknown, and they don't want to start. And I think fear stops more would-be successful entrepreneurs and investors than anything else. And so we're heading into a time period right now where self-storage is on fire. Interest rates are low, and they're going to be going up. But it's time to start building a team, getting out there and learning about this side of the business to take advantage of the opportunities that exist out there, because there will be some of the folks that didn't learn about the business that got in a few years ago. And when they have to refinance at a higher interest rate this upcoming year or next year, there's going to be opportunities to step into those projects. And so you need to be ready. You need to understand the business, have some bankers that are interested in self-storage, and hopefully some rich uncles, or at least access to them like myself and Mitch, that can maybe come alongside of you as well. But begin to prepare, and now is the time, because this is going to be an epic year in self-storage.
See, the number one thing I hear from people, which I don't know where people get this, but it takes money to make money, or that business takes a lot of money, or I don't have money to get in that business. If that's your belief system, then you're already sunk. Then, just, I don't know what to tell you, but you're done. You have to change that. You have to change what's here. If you don't have money, then you have to learn ways to get involved or become partners in deals where you can do something besides bring the money. I mean, normally when you don't have money, you're a professional deal finder / contract writer, or you know what I mean? So if you want a piece of storage and you're dead ass broke, I mean, go out there and steal a piece of land that's primed for that, or put together a whole thing with the land and get a package together, and you may not be able to get 50% for that. Maybe you only get 10%, but start somewhere and get a piece of a storage, for doing whatever it is you did. You brought the deal to the attention of me or Scott or somebody. And get a small piece, if not a little bit bigger piece. You know, you can also manage it after it's built for a while or something. There's a lot of things to do, but if you don't have money, then you have to come up with strategies that allow you to be successful with zero money. And they're out there. I mean, Robert Allen made a whole career off of the book called Nothing Down. It was about how to make money out of nothing. You know, I love that book because I was so broke. I figured if you could buy real estate with nothing, I could buy the whole town because I was dead broke.
Yeah, I don't know one successful person in real estate that started out having a scarcity mentality when they approach the business. You need to have a mentality of abundance because there is an abundance of money, credit, and experience out there. You just need to harness it. That's all.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily take a whole bunch of money. All right, my friend, I'd like to thank you so much. This is Mitch Stephen with 1000houses.com. I would like to thank livecom.com, livecomm.com. It's a mass texting platform. It's a lead generation platform. It's the reason my 100 houses a year average 4 days on the market, okay? Because I'm capturing cell phone numbers of people calling on my ads. And when I have a new property for sale, I just send out a text for 2 cents a person, letting them know I have a new property for sale with owner financing, and boom, I've got people fighting over those houses. And I'm averaging just under 15% in my down payments because of this tactic. I have 10,000 people that will not get off my list. I send a text out saying, please, if you're no longer interested, reply with the word stop and get off my list. 10,000 people won't get off. They will not get off my list. So I deem that they're interested, and they prove to me they're interested every time I put up a product because it doesn't last but a few days. And I get to pick and choose who has the most down payment or who I like the best because I'm getting multiple offers on my homes. So check it out, livecom.com, livecomm.com. There's a video on the homepage, shows you how I'm using it to work my business, but it can work for all kinds of businesses, and it's really amazing. So check it out, and I will see you next time. And down the road, Scott, wish you best of luck this year.
Thanks, Mitch. You as well. I appreciate it.